Oh, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 514, holy cow, of FloWrestling Radio Live. I'm your host, Christian Piles, joined by my favorite White Sox, Daniel Roy Lobdell Jr., and my favorite lumberjack, Ben Askren.
Ha ha! You guys like my skills or what?
That was a big old tree.
We're getting it done up here. Yeah, I mean, Jacob Broshka came home from college. He loves doing all that stuff, and so he's been going to town. I go out there and get to play around and help out whenever I get some free time. It's awesome.
Well, wonderful. How was how certain were you that it was going to fall the direction it was going to fall?
Which one?
There's a giant one. Well, I only watched one video. Are there multiple videos of you chopping down trees?
I put two videos up yesterday. One, I was up in a tree and I cut a very large dead limb off.
No, not that one.
That one, I was very certain where it was going to fall. On the other one, what you couldn't see on the video was that I bought wedges, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's nice trees over here, and I wanted to fall this direction, the direction eventually I had to fall. But you know, that was our first time using the wedges, so we hit them and they were all the way in, and so there was you couldn't hit them any further, and so yeah, we had to get creative. So I started chopping it with an axe, and we made it fall the right direction.
How long of a project was that? How many chops? How many swings?
Oh well, I was a dum and I got my chainsaw stuck because it's a long story, Christian. You don't want to hear about it.
Okay.
Well, I mean, if you want to, so I make the V cut, then I make the other cut, then we hit the wedges in, and I was on my property. There's a whole bunch of trees that have barbed wire in them because hundreds of years ago, someone wrapped fence lines on the trees, right?
Oh yeah.
So then, as I'm cutting through the trees, some of them hit barbed wire, and that ruins your chainsaw. So I couldn't keep cutting that direction, so I cut it out. Well, so obviously the wedges are pushing this way, so it'll pinch your chain, but I kind of got to go for it on the other side because I'm hitting barbed wire on the one side of the tree. So then my chainsaw got stuck, so then I had to go with the axe.
Dang it. Well, that's okay.
You said unconventional. Is it the axe kind of the conventional lumberjack tool?
Not anymore.
I would venture to guess most people use a chainsaw now.
I'm just saying, the stereotype of the old lumberjack is with a big axe.
Yeah. Harken back to the days of yore.
Yeah, here you go. We got the video.
We got the video of Ben
if you hit with an axe all day, you'd be so strong.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Look at this.
I had a wrestler who he really didn't lift.
Oh, boom! There we go.
That's pretty sick. I had a wrestler who just kind of he never really lifted weights, but he was working around the house and stuff like that. But one of his main responsibilities. He's probably listing right now. He's one of the few, but he always had to chop wood. So he started lifting weights, and he wasn't really particularly good at anything except anything that involved shoulders. He was disproportionately strong with it. His deltoids were ridiculous, but he couldn't bench or do anything. But anything that involved shoulder press or whatever, he was really good at right away.
Because he had an accident his whole life.
Yeah. He just chopped. That was the thing he did. He chopped wood for the wood.
Who else is a monster with the axe? This is according to
Danny Matt Gable.
Him too. He's the old monster. The new younger monster. So Yanni told me the reason Dupre never really did freestyle until college is because in high school they would have to chop wood all summer to keep the house warm for the winter, and so he would just chop wood all summer.
That's great.
Wow.
Yeah, he definitely. You can tell he's got that farm strength too.
Dupre's a monster.
Yeah, he's really good. Oh, so Ben, episode 2, you maybe watched it several hours before other people did. What'd you think?
You know what? I'm gonna out myself here, Christian. I ended up getting busy, and I'm I guilty to send me the link. I didn't watch it till last night, so then I felt guilty for forcing you to send me the link early. It was good. Let's see. Here's my criticisms. I didn't feel like the Kale competing piece really fit. I felt like it was just kind of thrown in there, and it was kind of a wild card. I don't really feel like it fit with the entire theme. And then on the other side, I kind of felt as though the 2013 season went by a little too fast. You guys almost just skipped over a little bit, and like the Dake Taylor was such a huge thing, and I know you've done a thing separately on that, but it felt like you guys got through that one in like 12 seconds.
Yeah, so I think well, one, I don't understand how for Kale's first decade, how him coming back and making a world team doesn't go somewhere in this 3-part series, right?
Well, you feel like it should go somewhere, but then you're like, well, where does it go? What makes sense here? And you're like,
kind of between. I don't know. So they put it between the 2011 and because it was after the 2011 NCAA championships, kind of right then. But yeah, that and
so I know Nomad made the argument, Christian, yesterday that it motivated him. I don't know. I feel like it's just kind of like I mean, this is cool for him to do, but it's kind of like nah, not really. It's just like a thing that happened.
There's no way it motivated him any more than he already was. I think it could have helped him. I think it could have been an asset to have had a more recent, run at competition, but I don't think it motivated him anymore. Yeah, 2013 NCAAs is crazy because you have Oklahoma State was right there to win it that year. They won it by 4 points. If Quentin doesn't beat Kilgore, they don't win NCAAs. Like, that could have been discussed. Just like the story of the 2013 NCAAs is definitely an area where I think we got into it pretty extensively, but some things just end up not in there. But yeah, 2013 was definitely really cool. So Ben didn't like it. Okay, so don't watch it.
No, I liked it. I'm giving you my feedback on where I think could be improved. Who knows? Maybe you guys do it again. Yeah, version 2.
Run it back. Like that. Director's cut. The Askren cut.
Director's cut. I also, man, I think I said this when I watched episode 1. I don't remember exactly if I said this or not, but man, it's hard not to be a fan of Penn State. Besides the fact that you're like, those bastards just win every time. Like, it's hard to not be a fan of them. For me, at least.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, they're not like jerks, and they wrestle.
And just their style, and they're so fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people gravitate towards that, and it's very, that they've been able to do it for now 10 years. A lot of these kids, these high school athletes, have only known a world where Penn State is like these fun-loving killers, right?
So if you're Alex Facundo, right, who's their top recruit from 2021, and they've been winning titles since 2011, and he's probably 18 now. He was 7.
Yeah. So very.
So basically, his whole wrestling career, probably.
His whole wrestling life, they've been at the top.
Yeah. But you know what I thought was a stupid, and I don't even know. I don't really know why you guys put this in there, but I kind of, it might be starting to be my pet peeve when people try to tie everything to like the greater good of the sport of wrestling, when some things just shouldn't be tied to the greater good of the sport of wrestling. It should just be like tied to Cale or Penn State. So when Cale wins that first title, I think it was, and the reporter says, well, this is the first non-Iowa or Oklahoma State or Minnesota to win. What does that say about the sport of wrestling? And Cale kind of gives an answer, but it felt to me as like he's like, kind of saying some things that have some nice words and they sound good, but it's kind of like, I don't know what to say. It doesn't say anything. And then honestly, if you take what he said and then superimpose the fact that they've won 8 of 9, then it would go opposite of what he was saying there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I thought that was when I saw that interview, I was like, man, this dude just kind of ran up on Cale, and Cale didn't tell him no, and then he just kind of quickly came up with an answer, right? So I see that. I mean, because he said something like hope or something, but it's like, Cale wants to remove hope. He would love to win every single year and make Iowa and Ohio State hopeless, right? We know that's true, and I'm sure he would, in the dark recesses of his mind, would admit that, or maybe he would candidly just admit it. But he wants it all, right? He doesn't.
Yes.
He's about. Yeah, parody is something that I think is an overrated. I don't know, thing that gets discussed. It's an overrated goal, right? For a sport.
There's 2 different kinds of parody, right? There's parody of like number of teams who could win a team trophy, right? So, or like number of teams that could conceivably be top 10 and kind of how that shuffles in and out. And then there's the parity that I would like to desire, which is instead of consecutive runs where every team that wins for multiple years in a row, there's more passing back and forth of the trophy. The same teams are still involved, but the actual trophy gets moved around.
Sure, but think about it like this, guys. Wrestling in 2020 is healthier than it's ever been, and I think if you would look at metrics like total dual attendance, fans watching events, like pick one of those that is more relatable to the overall health of the sport, and it has nothing to do with how many different teams are winning because Penn State wins every freaking year. So I mean, it's a concept that is, I guess, nice. It's a nice gesture, but there's no mapping it to reality.
Well,
I agree.
So I think my argument there is they're slightly two separate things. There's like the work done by coaches and programs and athletic departments to increase visibility on wrestling and garner fan interest, and that I don't think that is tied into much. The again, what I desire, the passing around trophies, but I think, in my opinion, to go to the next step, it is more desirable to break through from just, okay, a lot of these teams now are selling out, and to have more, I don't know exactly what word I'm looking for here, but I think to go to the next step fan-wise, it would be more desirable for the outcome of the season to not be determined on day one.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think it is. I don't think it is.
I think there are some years it absolutely is.
Well, just let me ask you this, Nomad. I mean, obviously, you and I don't like it if there's not a team race at the end of the days, and we kind of know that would be the case, as say, like this year. But how many programs actually say, if I don't get number one, this season sucks? Like, say, Rutgers, who now has a ravenous fan base. They got in the top 10. Dude, they were throwing a party. That was awesome. Now, if they get in the top 7 or the top 5 in the next couple of years, they're going to love it. They don't have to be number one for their fans to be pumped. Yes. I mean, would it be nice at some point? Sure, but it's not like this has to happen.
For sure, but there's also the value. So, if you're looking at it from like the dual perspective, there's also the value of, okay, say they get to host a playoff, right?
Yeah.
And so they get an additional whatever 5,000, whatever the rack is, sold out, and they get that experience as well. And in addition to increasing the media rights value of, instead of having one event that is very highly watched, which is the finals, the NCAA finals being the most highly watched thing in wrestling, you now have an additional, at the very least, 2 hours of programming for a dual national championship.
So wait, but that doesn't have anything to do with, that doesn't. You just want a dual national championship.
I want a dual national championship because I think it's an easier thing to sell. I think it's an easier thing to sell to fans and administrators when they get to host a playoff.
I agree with that, but that
topic,
you're just like kind of switch completely.
Okay,
so hold on. Hold on.
I think my next point.
All right, well, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so we're talking about increased attendance and interest, and that's part of AD buy-in. Well, another part of AD buy-in is getting to potentially host a playoff. That was going to be the next thing that I was getting to.
Yeah. I think a lot of sports you don't see this kind of parity. I think it's a utopia, and I think it doesn't.
What are you talking about? What other sport do you have? We have one team win 8 titles in 9 years.
I mean, college football is.
I don't know other sports, so.
Well, maybe not 8 of 9, but
exactly, there is passing around the trophy. Alabama's in the playoffs every year. I'm not debating that. But sometimes they do not win the final thing.
Oh, hold on, but to tie this together, Nomad, you would have to somehow have a health of sport metric tied with the amount of different teams who win titles. You can't just say other sports have more winners and then say, well, those sports are then inherently better. I mean, what I'm saying is I don't think there's correlation between the two.
Exactly right. There's not.
There's some sports that are probably dying that have a lot of different champions.
Yes.
Right. I mean, I don't know for sure. I don't follow sports, but I don't feel like they're even tied.
You're exactly right. I mean, the Rutgers is one of many examples you can make of a fired up fan base. I mean, Lock Haven, those people are insane. They know they're not going to win an NCAA title. What I think wrestling's advantage is there are so many things that can get a fan fired up. Mm-hmm. A cool duel. You don't have to have. It doesn't have to be national duels. Lock Haven versus Rutgers or whatever. That is a huge duel. Lockheed versus Arizona State. Pack the gym. Awesome event. That is great for fans. Being able to get guys on the podium, that is very galvanizing for fan base. Mm-hmm. Then, okay, so those are the little things. Have a big duel. Get a guy on the podium. Okay, now get a couple guys on the podium in the top 10. That's huge. All right, I mean, do you know how happy I was when Tech cracked the top 10 after being one of the worst programs? I was like, that was amazing, right? Yeah. And after all the arguments I had to get in with people about like, oh, Tech chokes and all this and that, it's like, no, they're actually really, really, really good. And that was just my personal experience, right, at that time. And there's also, so when you get the top 10, there's so many teams that can be in the top 10. So many. Think of the variety of teams that have either finished in the top 10 or had the opportunity to. There have been a lot in the last 10-ish years. And even we talked about the trophy hunt this year, last year and including this year. There were very legitimately 12 or 13 teams who were like, this is not even hyperbolic to say this team can win a trophy. Yeah. So I think you can talk about, all right, is it great that the same team does win? But it's not as though, and if we are going to just make it about the top spot, it's not as though Penn State has not had many opportunities to not win.
But that's the
no, hold on. I'll let you go into the National Duelist thing. Let me go here. Because 2011, it didn't have to go down that way. 2013, if Alan Galagayev doesn't try to jump over him, if Miles Martin and Bo Nickel doesn't happen. 2014, it was a 3-horse race, right? So there were chances. Yes, they won. Yes, they ended up being better. 2015, they didn't win at all. They according to everyone, they would not have won last year. So I think there is the appropriate level of opportunity for all programs. And yes, what you have to do to get to the top of the top of the top is really, really hard, as it should be. And there's very few programs that can do it. And many of them need to innovate if they want to jump to that next level. But I personally think wrestling has shown, NCAA wrestling, how widespread the success can be. And there is great parity there.
Yeah. So again, I think altogether, if you want to do a total health of the sport, you would do different metrics. You would do amount of spectators at NCAAs, duels on average, amount of spectators at the NCAAs, which we were going to have an all-time high at a effing football stadium this year, amount of viewers in duels, which, BTN put out was double of ever. Obviously, UWW is doing a little bit better, but not a great job of promoting their end. And then you would also do some type of participation metric. But of all of those that I think more accurately represent the health of the sport, and I think you need to have more than one, right? You put a bunch of them together. How many different teams win the title? I just think I think is a total separate argument.
The last 10 years, think about the growth wrestling has seen. If having the same champ over an extended period of time was bad for the health of the sport, then we wouldn't have seen.
I think it's two separate things, though.
Well, but what you're saying is the health
That's
of the
what
sport.
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It is two separate things.
So what I'm saying is the things that we have seen over the past 10 years, there have been a lot of factors to that. Us and just general, like FloWrestling specifically, and general growth in wrestling media, right? There are more people.
I'll give you guys credit because it would be weird if you guys gave yourselves credit. FloWrestling has been a huge factor. There's just an access to the sport. Yes.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Clearly there are. It would seem to be there's a better CEO mindset amongst coaches, right? That prioritize the things that do well, right? Getting fans to duels, selling season tickets, just making their recruiting more interesting and eye-catching. So there are things separate from the way that the end thing is determined that are helping the sport go in a positive direction. In my opinion, moving that will also help it, in addition to all of the other things going on that Ben was talking about. And because, using Alabama as that example, looking at their thing, it's 5 out of 12. 5 out of 12 and 8 out of 9 are drastically different.
Yeah, maybe, but
how can you not? How can you say maybe and not?
What's 5 out of 12? What's 5 out of 12?
The Alabama's won 5 out of the last 12.
5 out of the last 12, meaning they have lost. They have gone in as number one multiple times.
That's one sport.
Forget I used that example. It's irrelevant. The point is, all we've seen is every metric in wrestling go up and to the right.
But do you think that's because the national championships are a tournament? Or do you think it's because
that's what
media, coaches, all of the other things?
No, man. That is exactly what Christian and I are saying, is that the national champion for the NCAA Division I tournament is not correlated to the overall health of the sport. That's what we're saying.
People love to and Nomad, you ran it against this. Don't try to make health of the sport and raise up health of the sport to align with the thing you just want to happen. I just don't. Yeah. I think that is so annoying.
I understand that, but what I'm saying,
you're doing.
I understand that, but I do think that the single most valuable thing in the sport, which is the NCAA championships, if there is a way to improve that or to increase the number of valuable media rights properties, that should be investigated.
Okay, but that just has.
So what do you do? What do you do? Give Penn State less scholarships or something?
Well, he's talking about.
I mean, scholarships is a separate thing.
Well, I mean,
there's a lot of pieces to the pie.
You want to investigate ways to artificially create different champions. Now you sound like freaking the UWW with their bullcrap double third place system, so they can get frivolous medals to people who don't deserve them. Don't even get me fired up about that. No, I think these are uncorrelated. I think that wrestling's in a great spot, and I don't think it has anything to do with the Division I NCAA team champion being the same or being different for a number of years.
Do you think, just baseline yes or no, do you think it would be better or worse for the sport if the trophy were passed around more?
Do I get a third option, which says I don't think it matters? Because that's where I'm at.
Yeah. You don't think it matters at all?
No.
I don't.
Okay.
And I think if anything, it could align with dynasties are attractive to fans. They are attractive because they're attractive in both ways.
But
right?
wrestling has dynasties unlike any other sport. Right?
Well, I don't know that to be true for sure because we've never.
I 100% guarantee you it's true. No sport has had 15 and 21 like Gable. No sport has had 8 and 9 like Kale.
Well, then let me pitch this. Then if you're saying that wrestling is the number one, wrestling is not then the most unhealthy sport, right? There are significantly more sports at the NCAA Division I level getting cut and having worse participation problems. Men's gymnastics. Men's tennis, I believe, men's swimming and diving. We're seeing these releases happen all the time.
Correct.
What am I forgetting? There's a few other sports.
Yeah.
But just as you can say, it is. Again, this is an opinion thing, so this is kind of difficult to prove, and this is why this argument is a bit futile. But just as you can say it does not impact or it does not help, I firmly believe that it would help us significantly on the other side. Like your thing is, it ain't broke, don't fix it. My thing is, it isn't necessarily broke, but it still can be improved. It still can be a better product.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't know how you're artificially. But I don't know how you're artificially create a system where you're getting different champions on purpose. Like
it's not artificial. It happens. It's not artificial.
It is
the 85% of the season is duels.
You're saying, well, here's the bottom line.
Now you're saying that there's a duel. Wait, I'm so confused. He wants there to be a dual championship. Is that what you're pointing towards?
Yes, I think duel should be determine the national champion. I think it'd be better for the sport for the trophy to pass around. I think the NCAA tournament, which is the most valuable thing in wrestling, would lose 0.5% of its value if you remove the team aspect from it. And all the things that you talked about Lockhaven galvanizing around a Ronnie Perry or just generally, Chance Marsteller, all the things that they did on the All-American side, on the individual side, the fans would still be able to rally around, still be able to celebrate.
Yeah, it's still going to be the same teams with a dual thing.
But that's the point. It would actually change hands. It would actually be a more interesting thing if it changed hands as opposed to going into the season. There are times when we go into the season, we go, that team's going to win.
And they don't always win. But literally last year, everyone said Penn State was going to win. No one thought that at the end of the year. I had to go back 1 year to refute that.
Look.
Yeah.
There's a favorite every year, and the favorites usually win.
How do you...
And also, here's the thing. I just cannot correlate the health of the sport with I want to make adjustments so that the best teams don't win, so that different teams win. I want to legislate Basically, you want changes done. Hold on. I've given.
He sounds like
Wrestling
UWW,
is-
Christian.
Y'all
He sounds
are-
like UWW Nomad. He
Y'all
got
are
paid.
so fake with the meritocracy thing.
He's on the take like Tim Foley.
No, what do you mean meritocracy?
Because if you just wanted to do the best team, if you just wanted to do
No,
the
don't
best
do
team,
the round robin thing again.
But that's what it is. If
Yeah,
you just
no,
want to do the best
no,
team,
no.
if you just want to do the
No,
best
no,
team, there should
no,
be
man.
there should be like 10 programs. There should be like 10
Stop.
programs. There should be one
Where's
super
Mike?
league. This is what wrestling fans really truly desire. If you're really
Cut
saying
his
this is what
mic.
you want the best team, it should be 10 teams or like not even 10, it should be like 8 teams and just a constant round robin.
Nomad.
That's what you want. That's what you really want. You just like the way things are. And you can't imagine that there's a potential better way out there.
All
right, we have to
That's what it is.
All right, we're gonna move on.
Cut his mic.
Because you are so
Hey,
fake with the meritocracy thing, though.
No,
But
we're
you-
not. No, we're not.
What
Yes,
do you
you
mean?
are.
That
Because there is a
who,
clearly
me
more
or
defined,
Christian
better
or
way to
both of us?
achieve your desired result, which is you want the best team.
What?
I didn't say
So
that.
but see, here's the problem, man. Is what the f are we arguing about? At first we're arguing about the health of the sport. Now we're arguing about the way to define the best team. Like, what the freak? What are we arguing about anymore? If we're arguing about the way to determine the best team, yes, I would actually agree, and I've argued with CP that it is duels. I didn't think we were arguing about that.
Well,
It ties in.
Ben, hey, hold on, Ben. His point is that duels don't determine the best team, and that's why they should determine the team championship. That's his argument. His argument is the worst.
Bad argument.
There's,
It's a bad
but
argument.
that's his point. So you guys
I
don't
had a
actually agree.
He made his
Ben,
point,
CP's
and then he countered his own point.
No. So, in order of ways to determine best team, right? The more data points is more desirable. Therefore, the NCAA tournament, if you're looking for close to what you guys desire, which is the meritocracy of determining the best team, which I think is a wholly overrated concept in sports, the NCAA tournament is a far better way to do it than duels.
I would argue the whole point of tournaments or competitions is determine who the best is. Well, why else would we do them? Like, because we just want to have fun.
But there are inherent there are compromises made for the sake of fans, which is why we do line bracketing instead of round robin, because it is far easier to follow. It is far more desirable.
Because a 32-person round robin is impossible. No, man, that's like effing 900 matches or something.
I know, and that's why it wouldn't be 32. It would be far less than 32, because we all acknowledge that 32 is not reasonable for the actual amount to determine who is the
we
best.
gotta move on.
Yes.
We gotta move on.
Yeah, buddy. Let's go. Next topic.
We gotta go. Hey, Wisconsin got it done. I don't know what happened. They went from 2 to 13, 2-4, 13 against to 10 to 0 in one day. So it's not for next year, but it is for 2021/2022. Women are in for their own state tournament, so that's great.
Yeah, how did this happen?
Who knows?
What happened? How did we go from 2-13 to 10-0?
So the thing I got last night, the advisory council was what voted on Tuesday. Today's Thursday. On Tuesday, the board of control is what voted yesterday, and the board of control is far more powerful in terms of, as Ben says, the bureaucracy of the WIAA. And one thing that apparently was a sticking point was, and if you go through our man Corey Kundert, he had the reporter go through. Did you read that thread, Ben, of the guy explaining?
I glanced through it.
So they were really sticking on the point of, well, we need 5% participation. And what these people who
That means 5% of the teams in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was told there's approximately 511 schools in Wisconsin. Does that sound right, Ben?
Not that wrestle, but there's
No, just
511
high schools. High schools.
'Cause I think it's like 360 that wrestle.
Yeah. So they wanted 5% participation among all high schools, and there were a few people saying, well, none of them have girl-specific wrestling programs. And the various people in Wisconsin were like, well, of course not. That's the whole point of why we're trying to get to do this. And they used the WWCA, the Wisconsin Coaches Association tournament. They said there were 49 schools involved. They said they had a petition for 120 schools pledging to create women's wrestling if it happened. And then, let's see, 141 of 337 of all schools who sponsor wrestling have a female rostered, and 99% of
How many
schools
was that,
who
Nomad?
sponsor 141 out of 337 of all schools who sponsor wrestling have a female rostered. That's 42%. They also did a survey. 99% of all schools who sponsor wrestling have competed against a female. So when you narrowly define the 5% as schools that have a separate specific girls wrestling program, of course you're not going to have 5%. But when you look at the actual numbers of interest, it is well beyond that. And in every other state that has sanctioned it, they used Missouri as an example. The number jumped like hundreds of young women from not sanctioned to just kind of being, they were on the boys roster, they had their own separate thing, to it being a sanctioned sport.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
So it's good. It's good that it got done. I think it's almost embarrassing though that whatever committees on Tuesday are like, I guess we don't matter. I guess no one gives a damn about us. I mean, why would you have them vote on Tuesday and have the other people on Wednesday put them in their place?
And there were other things. So, like I was told the state tournament, the WIA state tournament in wrestling is profitable, right? Much like
Yes.
the NCAA wrestling
Very
tournament, right? It's one of the few things. It's one of the few WIA sports where the end thing, state tournament, is profitable. So there was concern about that, but they provide them the information from the WWCA girls state, and they said in 3 years they doubled their revenue, and so there would be little financial impact on the negative, and almost definitely financial impact on the positive if this were added to the sports curriculum for Wisconsin.
Yes.
All right. Well, glad that change was made. We were making our way through all the weight classes, and then
Making our way downtown.
we were walking fast, and now we got to 97, or to 285, and then we stopped because we had actual wrestling news. But we're gonna pick it back up with 285 pounds. Take care of the big boys here, and discuss.
Why is
this
there a
weight
picture of
class.
Steve Mocco when I click the rankings? Is he coming back, Christian?
Maybe, but I don't think that's.
Wait, what?
I don't think he's supposed to. I don't think they're supposed
On
to
the
be a
dock. On the dock, I glance over the rankings and a picture of Steve Mocco comes up.
I don't know why that is. Oh, it's
You
for
want
the
me to screenshot it for
24/7.
you?
No, I see it. I don't know why.
Okay. But what if Steve Mocco was making a comeback, Christian?
What if he
Under
is?
eligibility?
That is weird.
What if he did? That would be wild. I hope he does. Do you have a good Steve Mocco story, Ben? Seems like you should.
Seems like I should, doesn't it?
You were on the Olympics together. You
No.
probably ran together a lot in Olympic training.
I think he was like the only guy I beat, maybe.
I love that it was a maybe. I maybe beat Steve Mocco in running races.
I think I probably beat him, but I'm not
I
entirely
get a 40-yard dash. That would have been a lot more interesting. I'm sure.
Oh, I would not have beat him in the 40. No.
Wasn't he kind of fast?
That's what I'm saying. He
kinda
played
fast.
football.
He's kinda fast.
Yeah. He's kind of
Yeah,
fast.
I would not beat him. He's kind of fast.
Oh my gosh.
Nothing comes to mind, but yeah, I mean, he's. I remember at least at that point in time, everyone was scared of Steve Mocco because he was so intimidating, and just as a person, he was so much different than he was as a competitor. So
Yeah.
that was kind of my whole take on that.
What if Steve Mocco wrestled right now and like starting his college? He was a college freshman and had that same demeanor and mystique. What do you think it would? What would the fanfare be like for Steve?
I think it would be way big. I mean, Steve Mocco was one of the all-time most talked about people, right? Is that fair?
Yeah.
I mean, you were a message board nerd, Christian.
Yeah.
There were threads on Mocco. Every other thread, it was like Mocco space, right? It was everywhere.
Yes. All over the place.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah,
probably the
people
biggest
would
high
love
school
him.
recruit of all time.
Yeah. He's up there.
Definitely. Yeah,
He
he's
was
definitely up there.
He was a can't miss, for
And
sure.
It's hard because there's like kind of two different eras, right? Just like pre-internet, and then you have your
World champions now.
Zahid Hall, Gable Spencer, like that crop that came along with a lot more exposure. But at the time, relative to it, you would have to say Mocco.
The last 5 years, Nomad.
I think so.
Yeah, I was gonna Ben. You maybe you have some wisdom here as well. But the last 5 years in recruiting, would you say at the highest end there's less combustibility in terms of the top 10ish maybe because of how high school wrestling is and that they're trying to make world teams and you just have a lot more data points? Would you say it's a lot more? Because I think back to some classes where it's like, oh my gosh, this entire top 10 didn't pan out.
Not one of them. Yeah, it would be interesting to do an actual study on that, where you actually take how good they were. Maybe you take total NCAA team points scored by the top 10 or something to that, where you could actually map, not just your feelings, but you could actually map how they did. And I mean, what I would say to that is just that, because there are more data points for high school kids, you can actually more accurately reflect what the real top 10 is. I mean, we're talking my era of high school, which I'm not all that old. How many data points are you going to have to map the top 10? Fargo?
Yeah. And
so the rankers,
and even if there are data points, they're not just like somewhere to be found. You have to have the printout of the bracket, right?
So the rankers are going to get them wrong. So that's the other thing to talk about is the rankings. The rankers are way more likely to get it right now than they were 20 years ago. I mean, 20 years ago, every ranker is not going to be at every tournament. They're not going to be able to see guys on video. They're going to have a hard time finding results. And so, is there some guy at 32 that should really be at 9? Well, there's a decent chance of that.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something that you'd have to reflect on also, is that maybe the right guys aren't in the right spots.
Yeah, for sure. It's not an exact science, but I feel like it's probably a lot closer. And the rankings when you're doing them, think of like 2012 recruiting class rankings. They're not necessarily wrong in terms of what the kids actually had proven. I think there was just less. Less, I don't know if the opportunity is a word or the culture around high school wrestling was just different, but it's not like, you think back to Bryce Brill or Fox Baldwin. It's like, those guys were really good and maybe earned their rankings and where they were, but then there wasn't quite enough to really show how they actually stack up, because they maybe didn't compete as much against other good guys.
So data points is definitely a big thing, because when you add in cadet worlds, I mean, the percentage of talent that congregates at that event.
We're talking about UWW cadets. Trials.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
The percentage of high-level kids that congregates at that event is so high, right? And
Super 32 also.
That was going to be the next one, right?
Yeah.
The percentage of kids that congregated those two events is so high. And then kind of the tier below that, Ironman largely just because of state rules, and then Fargo just because you basically extract all of the cadet world teamers. When you kind of can formalize, okay, these are the most important events, and they're on video, and the rankers are actually going to see them, it is just so much easier. I also think there's just more information on the kids. I think talking to the parents of 2022 and 2023 athletes over the past few weeks, they are so much better informed about what it takes to be good. The whole family is bought in on you can't just be good at wrestling. Your grades have to be good. You can't be a knucklehead. And so I think there's more of that.
Jason Bryant's in the Facebook chat, and obviously he's been ranking for a long time. He said the same thing. He said recruiting class rankings are also taking into account the academic situation. Gone are the days of super good kids who won't qualify academically, populating the top 10 as much. I think that's totally true. That's what you just said, Domet. I agree. But yeah, I mean, to those data points, I think I got ranked. The highest I ever got ranked in my weight class in high school was 3rd. But I only went to. I guess I went to UWW cadets, but it wasn't really a thing. I didn't go to UWW juniors the one year because I think I might have been too young. And so I really only went to Fargo and junior duels. And that was it. right? And so like junior duels, it's a dual thing, so there's no guarantee you're going to match up with the best guys. And obviously Fargo, I took fourth my junior year when I moved up in the rankings. But that was it. So yeah, there are less data points, and so there will be more anomalies in finishes, right? Can a guy catch a pin and get lucky and place way higher at Fargo, and then that makes him shoot way up the rankings? Yeah, that can definitely happen, especially if they're from, say, a state maybe out west, which doesn't compete all that much at the national, at more national level competitions.
I think also with the freestyle thing, so there are two things with the video, right? Number one, you can see when a kid wins because of like gut wrenches or crotch locks, like things that don't translate into folk style.
Yeah.
So like coaches can have that discernibility. And then number two, the video itself also, I just think there was, and you guys can correct me because you're a little older than me, I just think there was less data on freestyle, and so the few kids that had access to like a high level coach or like a really good state organization were just going to do better in Fargo. Even though there were kids from other states who could have been good had they had access to technique, to high-level coaching, to camps, whatever that they have access to now that they didn't before.
Yeah, I remember Gregor Gillespie got I was watching him. I coached the kid. It was Craig Henning who actually ended up making the NCAA finals also, but Gregor Gillespie got teched, and it was like he was in an all good shots, and he just got dumped or whatever, and then Craig got on top, and he gutted him a few times, and it was like, okay, if you're not there watching, because there's no video. Like, you can't go to the internet and find video of this match, right? So if you're not there watching, you think, oh, damn, he got beat 11-0, right? Which could be 5 single legs, but it wasn't. It was, I think, 3 dumps and a couple gut wrenches or something like that. And it's like, so if you're saying, oh man, this guy's terrible, he just got killed by that guy, but then you might be saying, I was saying, oh man, he's kind of good. He has no idea how to do freestyle. I mean, that's what I was thinking.
And then last point on this, and we can actually get to the 285, but I think the rankers have a much better understanding of floor for the highest ranked guys now, and it is more predictive. Like, if you look back and you look at the ones that were highly ranked that didn't do well, you had a better idea. Like, this ranking is based on talent. There are these red flags.
You mean like behaviorally or grade wise is what we're saying?
Yes.
So you're also saying now so I guess what you'd be saying then is also either with social media, people have better access to what people are like in their personal lives, or you're saying that because these kids have access to social media, they're seeing what David Taylor and Jordan Burroughs and Jaden Cox, what they're actually like. And Jordan Burroughs and Jaden Cox and David Taylor aren't going out and partying every weekend and not doing their homework.
Both.
Right? Okay, both.
You know what else I'll say is I think maybe to get to the level that they get to get that high of a ranking, maybe you could dispute this if you want, Ben, but I think to get to that level, a lot of the kids have to have pretty disciplined lives to do that, whereas maybe that wasn't the case. I don't think that was the case 10 years ago.
Oh, I agree. I agree fully with that. I mean, what is happening in high school wrestling is different than ever before. People are putting in more time. I mean, I know one thing that was talked about at WWF Fargo camp is like in my era, and then I coached a few years after with Max, like, kids would not train and they would show up. And so it was like the camp was like, get these guys in shape to go wrestle in Fargo and then stop them from sneaking out at night. And I remember the coaches were having this discussion, and I'm like, guys, the guys I coach, they're here to freaking wrestle. We've been training all summer for this. They don't need to get in shape. Stop trying to make them work so hard at camp. They don't need it. They're in shape. They're ready to wrestle. We have 3 days to the competition. Stop trying to grind them. Please, we're ready. And if there are guys who have not been training, forget them. That's their fault.
Too late.
Just too late.
Yeah. Why are we getting them in shape?
We're 2 weeks out here.
Yeah. That's
no, we're not 2 weeks. We're like 3 days or 4 days out. No, man, we're like right there.
Oh, okay.
And they're trying to.
Right before.
Yeah. I got pissed one day because 1 year because they tried making him do the bus was full. I rode with Keegan's dad, Brian, and we worked out this morning, and they said there'll be no other workouts. So we worked out in the morning, and so I said, all my guys, get on weight, stay on weight, don't eat anything. You weigh in, at 5 p.m. or whatever. And they get the bus there, And I get to the hotel and the bus isn't there. I'm like, well, where's everyone at? Oh, they're making us work out again. I'm like, what? Why are we working out again? I told you told me this was the only workout. All the guys that I'm coaching are on weight. Why are we having them work out again? This couldn't be stupider.
That's
like,
weird.
Stop. Yeah. So, yes, kids today, and not just the kids I coach, but kids across the board. And this is, I always laugh. Some old people want to run this gimmick that I'm sure old people have been running for 2,000 years. Kids today are different.
Yeah.
Kids, I'm like, dude, kids today are way better than when I was in high school. They're partying less, they're drinking less, they're smoking less, they're having less premarital intercourse. They're doing all those things less. The statistics prove that. You can go look that up if you want to. Kids today are better than when I was in high school. They're definitely better than when Nomad was in high school. Oh, you're younger. You're younger than me, Nomad. No, you're younger. I forgot. Shoot.
Nomad's 46 years old.
Yeah, I look great.
Hey, I always think I'm so young for some reason. Darn it.
I do have one final question on this. And this is like a holistic question or whatever. Okay,
Love it.
When you have information or you feel you have pretty good information that there are like a lot of red flags on a kid, but there is not a lot of like losses to drop them in the rankings, should you do it acknowledging that you may not have the same information about, say, 3 other guys in the top 10 who have the same or greater level of red flags who also should be dropped?
Well, rankings, no.
Big question.
I'm talking big board. I'm talking big board.
Big board, yeah. Big board is your judgment on how you think they're going to translate to the next level, not what they've necessarily done. So, yes, you should move them on the big board because that's your overall assessment, right?
But you understand what I'm saying as far as you're making a character judgment necessarily without having the same level of knowledge on all of the other kids.
Yeah.
But
sure, it's tricky.
You got to make the judgments based on – it is tricky, obviously, but you got to go with what you got. You can't get everything, so you got to go with what you got.
Yeah.
Like basically unnecessarily, maybe not unnecessarily, but there's a fine line between like smearing a kid and doing it just because you know when there's other kids you may not know about.
I think it'd be very inappropriate to get into particulars about a kid like that.
For sure.
Yeah.
But that's part of the problem, right? Is you go,
okay, why am I 18th?
This Fargo champ is like, he's won all these things. He's 67th, right? So because there is that justification that needs to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's
move that far down.
No, you can't go.
But there's also has to be that acknowledgement, Nomad. And this is the other one where, listen, I'm like, very few people can claim to have lived as clean of a life as me. I've never drank still. I've only ingested bad substances once, and it was by accident because someone fed me a pot brownie, which was totally against my knowledge. I thought I was eating a protein bar. So I've never done any of that stuff. I'm literally as clean as it
gets. You are a
gets.
marijuana user. What the heck?
So, I thought the CIA had me under mind control, Christian. I had no idea what was going on. It was terrible.
Did it freak you out?
Oh my God. It was so bad. Yeah.
Well,
we can get that. Let me make my point. Let me make my point, and then I can tell you the story. We can circle back if you want. So,
you never heard the story?
There's some people that will say, oh my God, he does this or he does that. He can't be successful. But you can't not acknowledge there are guys who achieve at the highest levels who party their butt off.
Yes.
That happens.
Yes.
Listen, it's not all the time, but it does happen. So there are certain guys, if you said in high school, well, I heard this dude parties, I got to move him down. Well, that dude still won a bunch of national titles. So I'm not advocating for that lifestyle, but I am saying you need to acknowledge that there are people who can be successful while doing that also. And not acknowledging that is totally disingenuous.
Yes. Because maybe what part of their secret is they prioritize wrestling well enough that they're like, okay, I could be really, really good at wrestling. I can still do this, and I can compensate.
Now we're getting back into the Michael Jordan conversation.
Well, yeah. I was just thinking.
I was so mad at you for that.
He did.
Oh, man.
Yeah. It does not help to smoke and drink, but it can be overcome.
Yes. Okay.
So Ben has lived the cleanest life. Oh, yeah. Tell the story.
Almost the cleanest life.
So I'm not going to implicate anybody. Almost. Well, I did also one time get high off glue fumes when I was putting up mats in my basement.
Wow.
Accidentally, which is also a fairly funny story. But the one time, yeah, I thought I asked someone. Oh, it was terrible, Nomad. I was like slurring. I was crawling around in the grass. It was terrible.
With the fumes?
Yeah, it was bad. I struck a few people, and I thought it was the most funny thing ever.
You did what to a few people?
I hit him. You know, because like, and I was like laughing. I thought it was funny because you know I'm like pretty combative. Yeah. So I asked someone what said subject was, and they said, "Oh, it's a protein bar," or I can't remember exactly what they said. Oh, cool. So I ate it, and then I had left, and me and my wife went home. And I started feeling really strange, and I was on the couch, and we watched a movie, and then after the movie, I'm like, "Hey, Amy, I have to tell you something. I don't know what's up right now. I've been trying to think. I didn't get hit today or anything, so I don't think I have a concussion, but I'm feeling kind of slightly concussed. And if the CIA has me under mind control, just remind everyone that I was a good person while I lived, and I think the CIA has got me under mind control.
No.
If I do anything bad, it's not me; it's the CIA." And so we had this discussion. And she's
poor
like,
Amy. What's she saying?
She's like, the CIA doesn't have you under mind control. Maybe it's food poisoning. And we went through all the things I ate, and I had forgotten about this one thing that I'd eaten, right? I totally forgot about it. I didn't even bring it up. And so, oh no, we ate dinner together. We ate lunch together. We ate relatively the same things. You can't be food poisoned. But you could be concussed. You didn't do any sparring today. They can't be that. So I remember, I was just totally puzzled, and I was still convinced I was under CIA mind control. And then I went to bed, tried going to bed, and I just remember thinking like, I hope when I wake up, the CIA doesn't have me under mind control. And then like we were going through it, and then I just couldn't go to sleep, and I'm like, oh my God, what about that one thing I ate? And I called said person. I'm like, dude, what was that? And they're like, oh yeah. Someone else had told me it was the wrong thing.
Oh, but it wasn't their thing.
Yeah, it wasn't their thing. Oh yeah, that was a pot brownie. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, and then this was when Kyle Dake wouldn't wrestle me for Agony. This is that far back. And
he didn't want to wrestle a drug user.
I remember I called someone, and I was like, it was like 1 a.m. I was calling people, harassing them about how Kyle Dake wouldn't wrestle me and how he was a wimp.
Oh my gosh, that's a great story.
Yeah, it was terrible.
That's the thing about those men. You can't tell someone there's something else because they're expecting a certain experience, and they get this whole other thing.
Yeah, and I didn't know what I thought. I had a protein bar. It was so bad.
You can go to sleep and wake up still high.
Apparently so. Wow.
Yeah, so.
Which would have been very funny because Ben would have been like, "I'm still under CIA mind control."
Wow. That's hilarious.
Okay.
Great segue to heavyweights.
So the heavyweights.
I don't know how that happened, but yeah. That's
we started talking about Steve Mocco, and then recruiting, and then something, and then something, and then something, and then yeah.
It's just been a week. You had me back. I haven't talked to a lot of people. I had to take the gloves off.
Yeah. Please.
And you guys were obliged.
Yeah, we were. At the end of some rounds of MMA fights where it's just like both guys are like, all right, last 10 seconds, I'm only punching and just not even trying to block. It's kind of like that.
But we have been so deprived of those, Christian, because of quarantine.
I thouh you were about to get back into it.
No. I'm saying we've been so deprived of those because of quarantine. We haven't we got to shake the rust out.
Yep.
And have our little tussles.
Guy stuff. All right, number one. So we're gonna get into heavyweight. Very good weight class. I'm excited for this weight class. I'll give you the quick rundown of the top 10, and then we can go. Gable Steveson, Mason Parris, Tony Cassiope, Matt Stencil, Trent Hilger, Jordan Wood, Yaroslav Slavakuski, Tate Orndorff / Gas Tank Gary, Gannon Gremmel, Zach Elam.
No, that's disingenuous of you, CP, because you advocate for Gas Tank Gary, and then you're going to put Tate Orndorff in the rankings?
I no longer do the D1 rankings, Benjamin. Those are the responsibility of my
Spay and Bray?
Spay and Bray combo.
CP's name is off the rankings.
Yep, I asked for them to be off.
Bray was inducted into the Rankers Guild on an episode of Who's Number One the show.
He swore a blood oath. So he's in. It's their,
on
it's
a
their
copy
thing
of
now.
the VHS reversal.
Yes. So
That happened.
So that's the top 10, but a couple names outside the top 10 that we should have our eye on is one Gregory Kirkfleet. Mm-hmm. He is very, very good. I think we all know that he has a probably very high upside at this weight class. Go ahead.
The other one here, Luis Fernandez. Didn't Luis Fernandez pin Yaroslav Slavakoski? I messed it up so bad.
You're
Whatever
not that
his damn
far
name
off. Slavakuski.
Yes, he did.
So we should move him up. Because I don't think Luis Fernandez lost. Did he?
Let's look.
The gray shirts are often difficult to find.
No, he lost. He lost to Demetrius Thomas, Gannon Grimmel, Gas Tank Gary. Yeah, so he had some losses.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes. That's still solid. He has 26-4 last year.
It's good.
He lost to Kirkfleet, also.
Okay.
So that could maybe explain it. But yeah, the Slavakuski win is definitely nice at the Bearcat Open. So he's in there, and then looking at the red shirt report for heavyweight, we've got Greg, Luis Fernandez, as we mentioned. Zach Elam comes in, AJ Neville's maybe, but also, where's Colton Schultz? I don't know why.
What?
He's not in the. He's not in the red shirt report.
Why not?
Someone messed
is he
up.
Going,
Andrew Spay.
Is he going Olympic gear again? What if he goes Olympic gear again?
No, I think Spade just whiffed.
Just a whiff. It happens.
He's going to get mad.
He's going to get big mad. Spay's the best. Everyone makes mistakes. But this one's unforgivable. Unfortunately for him. But yeah, Colton Schultz. Now, Colton Schultz did not have a great, an amazing red shirt. He was fine.
He only lost one match, right?
I thought he had, but it was a really, all right,
it was someone not very good.
It was sort of random.
I'll
He didn't beat anyone really of note. But I think we all know Colton Schultz is going to be really good.
Heavyweight's tricky too. I mean, there's such a big.
He lost to AJ Neville's, and he didn't really beat anybody of note.
Yeah.
So that'll do it. That was really his only opportunity against a ranked guy, and he didn't beat him. But I don't care. I still think he's going to be good.
I think we're in a renaissance of the heavyweight division. I mean, when I look at this thing, oh my gosh, there's so many really high-level guys here. And when I feel like the last 10 years, I feel like right now we have a higher level of skill at heavyweight than in a very long time. And then the other thing I reflect on what we were just talking about, a few guys on here may have off the mat issues or rumors of said issues, and I still would have recruited them 100%.
Yeah. What do you when you look at this heavyweight class, how many guys do you think can win a title next year? I think I've got 3.
Well, who you're gonna say? Paris Stevenson and you're gonna say Kirkfleet.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I still will say someone's got to knock Gable off to prove otherwise to me. And until someone does so, it's, he's kind of like, for me, he's tier 1. Mm-hmm. Everyone else is below until someone knocks him off. If someone knocks him off, my mind has changed. But until that happens, that's how I feel about it.
Okay. I can get with that.
The thing with Gable, so when I was like when we were doing big boards and when I went to the Kirkfleet Gable match, for me what became apparent is as far as all these guys, I don't know how many of them are ever going to be able to beat Gable in freestyle as long as Gable does freestyle. I just have a very, very, very high level of respect for Gable's freestyle. But the way he lost to Kassar was on the mat. Mm-hmm. And if there is a game plan for it, Kirkfleet, I think, is the closest one that's going to be able to get to that.
Is he good on top?
Man, that's
well, it's not so much about Kirkfleet's level on top, which I think is it's going to be slightly mitigated by the fact that Penn State Room's going to make him very good on top. I just think that is where Gable has. If there's anyone that can beat Gable, that is where they're going to do it. But I think only a certain level caliber of people like Kirkfleet are able to do it.
No, man. Hilger, Cassiope, and Paris all are very good on top, none of whom have been able to really ride Gable.
I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying that is the one path to victory.
Oh, okay. Got it.
And you
how long did Kassar wrestle or ride Gable for? I guess I didn't really remember that.
The one he definitely got riding time.
Okay.
And I think it was NCAA's.
Okay. And that's how he won?
It was riding time. It was like literally
it was like 101.
It was like a minute. It was like highly debated if Anthony actually did have riding time. It was like he should have got the escape at this point, not this point. Do you remember that?
Yes. Yep. I remember.
I'm gonna see if they have the exact amount.
Yeah, it was like right at 1 minute, and they said it should have been 57 or 58 or something, right? Or maybe it was 101.
It was.
It's listed as 102.
Yeah,
so
that's close.
But that's what I'm saying, though. He beat him 4-3.
I think the other way you beat Gable is it's like slow down the first period, make it about third period wrestling, and hope you can sneak a takedown, right? Or sneak a takedown.
You're not just going to blow him out of the water. His defense is too good.
Yes.
So you got to keep it close and hope.
Which is how Kassar did it. Gable's 3 points that match. Stalling point, escape.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kassar got a takedown riding time. Now, that's what I'm saying, Ben. Like, yes, I agree. All those guys are really good on top. You still have to be a certain caliber to beat Gable, and I think right now Kirkfleet is the only one that can get to that level. But Paris is probably second on that list.
Yeah,
we'll see.
That's fair.
I think Gable and Mason never wrestled their freshman year, right? Or Mason's freshman year. Correct?
I don't remember them wrestling until
then. Big Tens.
Rex, they didn't wrestle dual this year.
Right. It was kind of a weird thing that they never hit. But you just think about the jumps Mason made in a year. If he can make
so crazy
25% of that jump in a year, it'll be interesting. And I just think his style, what makes him so great, is what's going to always hurt him against Gable. Is he's so aggressive, he's so offensive, he's so shoot against one of the best reattacking heavies we've seen. Like, he's up there.
Yes.
I mean,
I think he's number one.
He might be. He very well may be. Who's better?
And that goes back to, you remember how he won his first cadet world title? It was all bring the guy to him, go behind stuff. We should see Kirkfleet Paris next year.
Hopefully.
Because they didn't wrestle. So Big Ten, take a year off, and then home and home. So I don't know if it'll be at Rec Hall or Michigan, but that should be on the Big Ten schedule this year for Penn State.
Nice.
Here's hoping that the schedules don't get turned into some regional competition, and that's what's speculated, but nothing known yet.
But do you think that would hurt non-conference more than conference, though?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I still think the Big Ten, and maybe I'm wrong, I still think the Big Ten would most likely, in all the conferences, would most likely still hold their...
I think Wisconsin's deal was they can't fly to any non-conference thing, so they could still do the conference duels.
Well, I was told by D3 coach last night that right now they're looking at no overnight trips.
Wow.
Which makes tournaments impossible.
It do.
Well, no, it would be all would be all locals. It would be you'd essentially have to wrestle against the same people over and over and over again. Like in Wisconsin, say we have 9 Division IIIs, and there's a couple in Iowa, and there's a couple in Minnesota, a couple in Illinois. You're going to wrestle, open tournaments essentially against the same 15 to 20 teams. You leave at 6 a.m., you wrestle at 10, you're done at 5, and then you go home, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
So, okay. That's the heavyweight class. I'm not sure what else there is to get into specifically right now. Do you have any bold predictions, Benjamin?
No, I think, like I said, I think Gable's on top until someone proves otherwise. And I stand by my statement of I think this is when you look at the skill level and kind of how deep it goes. You have UWW World Silver Medalist at 10. You have a UWW World Silver Medalist at 14. I talked about how good I thought Luis Fernandez was at 16. I mean, this field goes deep.
Colton Schultz made Final X. I know it was Greco, but still, you have to be a very high-caliber wrestler to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. Heavyweight's going to be fun next year. Looking forward to it.
I'm excited to see Elam back.
Yeah. Elam's tough. He's going to be good. Mm-hmm. All right, let's go to some questions from friends because it's 9:21, and we had a lot of good ones, so I don't want to miss them. First one from D. Eugene Fisher. Which wrestling moment made you cry either tears of joy or agony?
Are we talking about like our personal, or what are we talking about here?
I don't know. Wrestling moment.
Yeah, for me, mine was unfortunately on camera. But when my brother won a national title, and Martin interviewed me afterwards, broke down a little bit.
Yeah, I remember that. I thought that was awesome, actually.
Yeah.
I thought that was great.
I see no issues there.
Well, okay. Well, yeah. Fair enough.
Man. Coaching for me, definitely, I would just, I'm just sort of an emotional person in general, which maybe you probably realize. But I remember a few times before the state tournament just getting like so nervous and like overwhelmed with emotion, just kind of like breaking down a little bit kind of privately before and just like gathering myself and then going out. I mean, it's just like, it's so weird. I mean, I know it's Virginia State tournament, but for me, so much of my thought for the last years were just all towards these moments for these kids. And at one point, my brother, it was just, it just overwhelmed me. I wasn't so seasoned a coach that I just had done it so many times. It's like, I coached 5 or 6 years or however long it was. And I still like, those emotions were too much for me to like hold back. And I just had thought, when you think about a moment so much and you want something so badly and you don't know how it's going to go, sometimes you just don't know what's going to happen. So that happened to me on several occasions, coaching high school guys.
You talking like morning of, like as everything's getting...
Morning of, weigh-ins are done, and now I'm just waiting, and the moment is coming, and I know it's coming soon, and I'm just going to know everything. Or like day 2, when the semis are coming, it's like, man, all these kids want is to wrestle in the state finals and have the chance to be a state champion. And you just been working with these guys so intensely for years and year-round. And it would just like just take over my soul for a little bit there, and I have to like get it together and it'd be fine. But that would happen to me.
Did you have any way to get through it?
What do you mean?
I mean, like, did you call somebody? Did you just like muscle through it? Did you like chant? Like what?
No, I just just break down a little bit, talk to yourself, a little self-talk, and focus on like, all right, what do I need to do for these guys, and then just do that. Just deal with it. Didn't talk to anyone about it till now.
No tears of joy not being able to wrestle state tournament my senior year.
That had to be bad.
Bad.
Yeah, you got hammered in a Smoothie King.
I smelled like a brewery the second day of states.
You got hammered in a Smoothie King when you couldn't wrestle at states. That would be freaking brutal.
That's probably the maddest my brother's ever been at me. I was poor example of a teammate that day. Missed my teammates win. 2 teammates win state titles. Best finish we'd had in a few years. Oh, I was miserable and selfish.
Well, you learned. Now you won't do that. Next time, you won't. Okay. I don't know why we got all these emotional questions.
Oh God.
Yeah, the next one, I don't know. I don't know why. People are like, let's break them on a Thursday, see what we can do. Corey Kunder, we've all failed at times in our life. Speak for yourself, Corey. Just kidding. I just wanted to make that joke.
Coldplay.
Just wanted to make that joke. Some more than others. Oh, that's actually me. How has failure affected your life? Has failure helped you move closer to success? This can be specific to wrestling or more broad towards life.
I don't want to put an advertisement here, Christian, but I'm actually decided to do I've done Mental Mondays for 5 years now, and I'm gonna start doing mental courses, and my first one is actually on failure, right? And how to deal with it and how to think about it. And I'm actually taping it next Monday. So it's funny that he asked this question.
All right, we'll do the whole thing right now. Give us the entire course.
Well, you know what? I'll give you the most important piece. And the course is going to be very long, so I won't be able to do it right now. I think a lot of people tie ego to outcome, and this could be. I see this a lot in political debates, where someone can't admit they're wrong because if they admit they're wrong, that they think they're a dum-dum or they think it makes them look really bad. The same thing obviously happens a lot in wrestling competitions where with kids who they think if they lose, people will think less of them, or their dad's not going to like them, or the coach will be mad at them. It's like it's just a wrestling match, and kids who anyone who builds it up to be more than it really is generally has a not as positive experience towards that thing. And so that, in the one moment, it leads to more negative performances. Over the long term, it leads to not nearly as much growth. So that would, that's kind of one of the pieces of it, is that stop tying your ego to the outcome because it's irrelevant. Like my Masvidal fight. I had one guy for 10 years and then I make one mistake and then all of a sudden I have to think differently of myself. No, that's effing stupid. I refuse to do that. So I think stop tying your ego to your outcome. The outcome is a huge one.
Yeah, that makes sense. I remember when I think it was after Metcalf lost to Caldwell, and he gave that interview, and I don't know if it was in this interview or not, but right after, there's 30 cameras in Brent's face talking about it, and to this day, it's one of the most. I found it to be a really impressive, very impressive interview. But I think the question that was being asked of him was something of like, what would you do differently, or how could you have changed this, or what have you done? And for him in that moment, he basically said, he's like, you don't just take one match and say, all right, we'll throw it up, let's change it up. Or maybe this was even Tom Brands talking about this, but like, you don't just throw out the playbook because you lost a match. It's like, no, the things you did made sense and were right. Just in this one match, it didn't work out. And not that you don't look back and maybe evaluate, but you don't say, oh, I should have done this differently, I should have done that differently, because you tie it to one thing. So
on that point, so with the course I'm doing, hell, I'm going to give it all away for free, apparently. So the first portion of it is how to think about the failure. The second thing is how to what are you going to do with the failure? And I think there's 3 things. Number one, and this one I think is overvalued and done more, is you can dig in and you can work harder. People love that stuff. They love that rah-rah. That's Jocko. That's David Goggins, right? You dig in, you work harder. Number 2 would be you innovate in some way, shape, or form. And this could be like me making up new scrambling moves, or this could be, hey, I only do a single leg. Maybe I should do a high crotch too. That's innovating you, right? You're not totally changing everything. You're just changing a little bit. And then number 3 would be pivot. And this could mean a whole bunch of different things, but maybe it's I'm in the wrong sport. I should go do a different sport. Maybe I should do something different in my life because this is going to be a dead end, right? So those are really the 3 things. The 4th thing, which I'll neglect to include, would be just give up on life. That's obviously number 4, but that's a really terrible choice, so we're going to ignore that.
Yes, I'm glad that didn't make the instruction manual. I would say, I don't know if I'm sure it's physical, but just like understanding your role in the failure, I think, is really important too. Like what is changeable about it. I remember just so much immaturity that I showed in my life. But I remember running cross country, and we were really good. And I was varsity as a sophomore, and we were second in the state, and it was this amazing thing. And so it was a really big deal to start. And then the next year, I'm like, let's win states, let's do all this. And I had all these aspirations that were backed up by basically nothing. No, I didn't do hardly any out-of-season training, or not near enough. And we had a really good team, and then more people came out, and I ended up, I didn't start as a junior after being, and I remember being bitter in that moment. That year, I was in and out of the lineup all year, top 7, and it's totally, if you're in the top 7, you're varsity, and if you're not, you're not. It's like totally on you how fast you run, very literally. And I remember being bitter at teammates and my coach that I wasn't in the top 7 at that time. It's like so ridiculous, but I remember I felt that way in the moment as a junior in high school. And I'm sure that that's an easy, that feels good, but it's so stupid, right? And so as soon as you kind of come to terms with, well, what did I do to get better? Well, it's clearly not enough, right? So
I just had that conversation with a bunch of kids last night, Christian.
Yeah,
I have a certain group of one of my practices who decides they want to talk too much, and it's like, guys, I enjoy all of you, and if you're like my cousins or nephews, and we're just hanging out, I think you guys are all funny. But at the end of the day, here's what I have to do as a mentor and looking out for you guys is, do you remember you lost in state semifinals? How did that feel? You lost here. How did that feel? You lost here. How did that feel? And obviously, it's all terrible. Okay. Well, if we go 9 months down the road, and listen, all you guys you're all really good, but you all are going to fail to achieve to what you could achieve if you actually put in the work. And then you look at some other guys in the room, and there's a bunch of guys in my room who I don't have to ask to work harder once, ever. They just get in and they work, right? Look at those guys. Look at what they're achieving. You guys can be similar to those guys if the work ethic picks up. And I don't want to have to be the shoulder you're going to cry on next year. I don't want to be that. And I can see it. And I can see it coming. And I don't want to be the shoulder to cry on. I want to be giving you a high five, not letting you cry on my shoulder. So let's, instead of crying about this in March, let's just change this in June.
Yeah, I think there's such a lack of perspective that it's just so hard to have it when you're in high school, right?
Yeah,
but like,
absolutely.
The one thing is like, man, if going back, if someone had just said, "This is it. This is the chance," right? For so many as a wrestler, that you are in a unique opportunity, and you will probably think about these years for the rest of your life. Not like your Uncle Rico, taking state and throwing the football over the mountains.
Hey, Uncle Rico's a great guy.
He's great athlete, better uncle. And I think you just kind of lose, like, you're in a unique opportunity to do something. And not just for the guys, for Ben, you have guys like Keegan O'Toole who are going on to have great success at college and potentially internationally. But like for many of the athletes I bet you work with, like the high school is sort of the pinnacle of their thing. But even knowing that, it's hard for them to realize, like, this is your chance to be a wrestler and to really do this thing and achieve a goal. And then all you'll have afterwards is wondering what ifs, right? And that's what
you don't want. You don't want what if haunting you for the next 20 years.
That's all I think about, right? It's like, what if I wrestled earlier? What if I had trained harder to run? Could I have been fast? Because I watched my brother Ryan, who is basically me in build and overall athleticism, go on to have great levels of achievement in running and in wrestling. And I attribute that to he worked a lot harder than me in high school than I did. That's probably true. It's almost definitely true. Yeah. He definitely worked harder than me. And I would bet that is absolutely correlated with that. So high school kids, if you're listening, this is it. In many ways, this is it, right? And you will be thinking about this forever. There's very few. The percentage of wrestlers that make it to the next level and have great success in it, where high school isn't it, is very small. So just know that.
It's also...
Or you will be haunted for the rest of your life.
by literal
I
ghosts.
mean, honestly, though, maybe it will haunt them, but they'll always think back and think, what if I could have done that differently?
Yeah.
And I mean, I think by definition, I think there's actually some science behind high school kids not being able to like look past what's like right in front of them, right? Or having the inability to see the future. But you always see the ones who have that ability are generally more successful.
There's also kind of, and I'm going to shift it away from failure a little bit and get to his point about perspective. One thing that, for me, the reason that I think I am where I am and why I personally believe that I have success is I have a brother who's 11 years older than me and a sister who's 13 years older than me. And
Dang.
the greatest thing that I took out of that is I had a roadmap, right? And I got to see, okay, this is what didn't work for them. This is what worked for them. This seems to be a good idea. This seems to be a bad idea. And having the wherewithal, whether it comes from within or whether you have good mentors, right? Like you guys were talking about, to allow yourself to pay attention and realize that there's a road, like, it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be hard. Like, there are going to be hard parts of your life, but there are ways to navigate where if you just accept that that's what you have to do, it doesn't become hard anymore. It just becomes what you have to do, and you just embrace it. And so I would have a really hard time like defining specific failures, because I'm very big on shifting perspective and going, okay, well, had that not happened, this other thing might not have happened. So I guess it's a failure in the moment, but it's not necessarily a failure for like your whole life.
Okay.
We got deep today, Christian. We went deep.
Getting deep. We can do it. Our depth is deep.
Yeah, trench style.
Well said. Hayden Henry, just listen to your take on conditioning in the summer. ... But being in good aerobic shape will help decrease recovery time, creating the opportunity for longer practices to learn technique and spar, along with
This is a guy, Christian. I read this already. This is a guy who his ego is tied to the outcome. He has one thought process, and he can't get over the fact that he's wrong. I'm sorry, Hayden. Obviously, what you're stating is a fact, but it's just not right.
Okay. The words from Ben Askren.
In my opinion. And obviously that's in my opinion.
Of course. Or just say it's in Nomad's opinion that you speak on behalf of Nomad. Then absolving yourself of all guilt and blame.
I don't speak on behalf of Nomad. And hopefully Nomad doesn't speak on behalf of me. That's dangerous.
He does not. From Marv Merchants. I don't know if that's a real name. If so, that's pretty interesting. Is Pat Pop the king of the ACC?
Oh.
I
currently.
think maybe currently. I don't know.
So,
I mean,
who won the SEC title this year?
Well, they
Christian?
won. Okay, if you're gonna go by, we can just say whoever wins the last conference championship is the king of the conference, if that's how we want to do it. But
isn't that how it goes?
Well, okay, then I don't think that's his question. I think his question is like, who is the best coach in the ACC? And to me, it's either Pat or Tony Roby, and I think both those programs have had very comparable success. I would say that I think they both had a trophy, right? Now that was Dresser era, but Roby has been instrumental, as we all know.
Right.
But number of top 10 finishes, I would say Tech has probably had more recently.
So that's the really hard thing about this question is Pat Pop obviously not did it all by himself, but he was the head man the entire time, whereas Roby, again, very instrumental, not trying to take anything away from him, but he was not the head man, and they have been head coaches for different periods of time.
Yeah.
So it's a little tricky to kind of judge them against each other. Again, acknowledging that Roby was extremely important in helping get Virginia Tech to where they are.
Yeah, well, since I think even if you look, Coach Roby's had 2 or 3 years, I guess. Now, I think if you looked, it's probably been a little back and forth even then between those teams. If you want to take it down to those 3 years, it's pretty close. They're two really, really good ones. But
yeah,
I'll say it's a co-crown.
Well, and Coleman and Keith Gavin are coming for him too. I mean, the ACC has some really, really good coaches right now.
Yes, I agree. And Glenn Lanham's done a really great job as well, even though they were not great last year, redshirting basically everyone.
Well, having no scholarships doesn't help.
That does not. I've looked into it, and
that doesn't help?
That is harmful. I bet there is correlation there between number of scholarships and success.
Hey, this actually segues because I did want to tell the story from Bader Show yesterday. So first story from Bader Show yesterday. Jim Andrasey was on, and he said when he started, he had 4 scholarships. The year he got 9.9, he brought in Kilgore, Mitchell, and Nick Bedleon. Nick Bedleon. And I was like, was there anything different you did? He's like, no, we just had more money. We had more resources available to us. I was still doing things the same way. Second thing that happened on the Bader Show yesterday, Vogar, Vito's father, we were talking about Soviet Union training camp, and he said Kadartsev, who won 7 world titles in a row, was one of his mentors there. And at the camp, they went around and they gave all the athletes pills. And Vogar's like 18 years old, and he goes, "What should I do with these?" And Kadartsev says, "You take them, you say thank you, and then you go back to your room and you flush them."
Nice.
So we're saying Kadartsev wasn't juiced.
I believe Vogar. I think that guy practices radical honesty.
Yes, I agree. Man, interesting. I wonder how many other guys did that.
I don't know, but he said Kadartsev was like one of his mentors early on in his career.
Because obviously there was obviously there was a lot of them who didn't, because if you go by Icarus, a lot of them, a lot of the changed out tested positive.
Well, yeah.
Interesting.
Well, yeah.
They're kind of big cheaters. I was doing. Bracky gave me the last couple of years for Virginia Tech's finish. They finished in 19 11th, 18 8th, 17 6th, 16 4th, 15 10th. So, and then in 19, NC State was 17th. And then in 18, I think is when they were 4th. Yes. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty close who the king of the ACC is. And they're both really good. 9:42. Do we have time for one more? Can we have a Dake and Chamizo wrestle the winner of a Burroughs versus Sidikov match, and whoever's left standing gets a belt? Yeah, that sounds great.
Maybe. Never know.
Listen, if we make that happen, I can guarantee a belt, personally.
Yeah, we'll make a belt happen.
Yeah, don't worry. That'd be epic. That was an easy question. All right, so we'll let Ben take this one. I'm not trying to.
I'm putting up funny things on my Twitter right now. If anyone wants to go look.
What, did you change your name?
No, I didn't. Just go
Life Coach Ben.
Anyways,
you should change it to Life Coach Ben.
I could never call myself a life coach because that is so effing annoying. Although I would probably be able to assist with a little bit of wisdom that'll help you be more successful in life.
Yeah, but if you call yourself a life coach, I mean, how?
Yeah.
You're saying, okay, what do you coach? I coach wrestling, so you're an expert of wrestling. Okay, I coach life. I just got it all covered. There's no aspect I can't help you with.
I've been pretty good at life, but yeah, I'm not going to call myself a life coach.
That's good. All right. From the Mat Awareness Podcast. I'm not trying to toot my own horn because I know you guys probably haven't heard of mine. But what are each of your favorite wrestling podcasts besides FRL, obviously? Have to pick one. Oh, geez. I don't. I used to listen to a few. I really don't anymore. I listen to T-Row and Funky, but it doesn't exist. And now we have half of that, that viewership. The host is here.
I listened to you guys at FRL the whole time I was doing both T-Row and Funky, and then when I was doing the Rudis Wrestling podcast. Now I'm here. I'll still listen to my old co-host Matt on the Rudis podcast sometimes, but that's about it.
Yeah. Nomad, you listen to a lot of podcasts. Do you listen to other wrestling podcasts?
I'm like you. I used to listen to everything, and then there got too many.
There's so many.
Which is good. That's good. That means what we talked about earlier, right? The sport's getting more popular, increasing access for people. I don't listen to much right now.
Yeah.
I am listening to Kingpins, which is a very interesting podcast about crime warlords. Which
wait.
Crime warlords. Can I be a crime warlord?
Is this not the 30 for 30 about?
No, separate.
That is called Kingpins, though. I'm pretty sure.
Yes. Kingpins, very common term. I mean, there's also the bowling movie. There's the 30 for 30.
Great
podcast.
movie.
Yeah. This is a
Christian,
podcast
it's
by
9:45. I got to pee so bad.
Me too. Why don't we
Can I
call
be
it?
dismissed?
Soft bladders. I don't have to.
Yes,
pay.
you may go. I'll give you a hall pass.
No man's as tough as Wayne Ballman.
We made it. Hey, thanks, Ben. Thanks, Dan. I'll be gone next week. Holy cow. So we need Dan.
Oh, yeah, you will be.
Yeah, we need Dan and JD Raider. What do you think about that?
Oh.
Bringing in
Are
the
the
young
people
buck.
ready for Raider?
I don't know. Y'all need to know. You probably don't know JD Raider yet. So, but if you do, you're excited. And if you don't, get excited because JD Raider's going to kill it. I hope I can call in for at least 15 minutes or something. Just say, hey.
I don't see why not.
Quick check-in. Why not? I think it is legal. But yes, so Mike and I and two shooters are flying to the Great Northeast Sunday to do Dake, Chamizo, Pat Downey, David Taylor, Anthony Ashland, Luke Pletcher. Shoots with all these guys for our July 25th card. Get excited about that. So I'll be gone, maybe to your delight. I don't know. I hope not. Jeez, that'd be hurtful. Just keep that to yourself if so. But yeah, we'll be back then, Tuesday. Come heck or high water. Thanks for listening. See you next time.